Yahweh says, be holy, for I'm holy. And to whom does he say it? He says it to everyone on the planet. No, it's not for everyone on the planet. It's to those and for those who have agreed to his covenant. In Exodus chapter 19, verses 5 and 6, it reads, those who obey my voice, keep my covenant, shall be to me a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. Then you shall be my own possession among all the peoples. This is what makes Israel. This is what composes Israel. They are from the bloodline descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. They are also from the direct descendants and non-descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And they're also part of the non-descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. The promise includes those of us who act in faith in Yeshua the Messiah, that's Jesus the Christ. Because Peter writes in 1 Peter 2:9, you are a chosen people, you are royal priests, a holy nation, God's very own possession. And Paul confirms it in Ephesians chapter 3, verse 6. Gentiles, or those nations outside of the nation of Israel, are fellow heirs and fellow members of the body and fellow partakers of the promise of Messiah Yeshua through the gospel of the kingdom of God. We are part of the commonwealth of Israel. So you don't have to be a bloodline descendant, which some people are out there teaching and promoting. That's not needed. It is by faith in Yahweh's covenant and following Yeshua. Agreeing to Yahweh's covenant joins us with his team of saints. We're saints, and removes us from the team of ain'ts. We must discern which instructions are to be and can still be practiced in the land of Israel for those who were there, and discern which instructions and our principles we're to follow outside the land. So this brings us to the closing words of Yahweh's Minister's Manual, which is the book of Leviticus. When Leviticus 26 begins, we're in the locker room before the big game, right? Yahweh, our coach, is giving us more than a pep talk. We're having a come to Yeshua meeting, and he's saying some things that may come across as painful and challenging. It's much the same way a physical therapist helps a person relearn how to walk. They cause the patient to do what may feel to the patient as something that is painful and challenging, but the physical therapist knows it's something they can do. Yahweh is letting us know what it takes to be on his team of saints, and the positive consequences of keeping his instructions, as well as the negative consequences of disregarding them. So let's read Leviticus chapter 26, beginning with verse 1. You shall not make for yourselves idols, nor shall you set up for yourselves a carved image or memorial stone, nor shall you place a figured stone in your land to bow down to it. For I am Yahweh your God. You shall keep my Sabbaths and revere my sanctuary. I am Yahweh. Verse 3, if you walk in my statutes and keep my commandments so as to carry them out. Verse 9, so I will turn toward you and make you fruitful and multiply you, and I will confirm my covenant with you. Verse 11, moreover, I will make my dwelling among you, and my soul will not reject you. I will also walk among you and be your God, and you shall be my people. I am Yahweh, your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt so that you would not be their slaves. And I broke your yoke and made you walk erect, or to stand up. Yahweh is instructing his saints, Israel, not to submit to, serve, or support idols, carved images, or memorial stones or figured stones. Why? Because they represent a God made by man, and it only has the life man breathes into it, basically. Although it may have eyes but can't see, ears can't hear, a mouth can't speak, hands can't pick up anything, and feet but can't walk, has to be carried around. This is an absolute affront to Yahweh, highly offensive. Why? Because he is the creator of all that exists, and idols and such are composed from elements that he, the creator, has created. Then he reminds Israel of two things. He says, I'm Yahweh, which means he exists. His name says he exists. And then he says, I'm your Elohim, Remember the word Elohim, which is translated God typically. Elohim means powerful leader. So Yahweh is repeatedly reminding them, I am Yahweh. I am the existing one. You didn't have to make me, who is your powerful leader. Don't make other powerful leaders to follow after, because they won't get you anywhere. Don't submit to, serve, or support the work of your hands in place of me, is what Yahweh is really trying to get across. He continues by telling them that they are to obey and remember all 59 of his Sabbaths. That is the 52 weekly seventh-day Sabbaths and the 7 annual Sabbaths, which are connected to the appointed time. What we're going to see as we close out Leviticus, or our time in Leviticus, Yahweh's Minister's Manual, is to teach his saints the benefits and positive consequences of living face to face with Yahweh, our Elohim, and also to let them know about the negative consequences of turning their back on him. So let me set the stage for what we're going to get into. Yahweh wants his saints to live face to face with him. But what does that mean? When we agree to Yahweh's covenant, we agree to face him, fear him, and follow him. Face-to-face encounters, face-to-face, I should say, shows a friendly encounter, generally. In Exodus 33:11, we read, so Yahweh used to speak to Moses face to face, just as a man speaks to his friend. The verse continues, when Moses returned to the camp, his servant Joshua, the son of Nun, a young man, would not depart from the tent. You see, because of Moses' face-to-face relationship with Yahweh, it drew Joshua to want the same thing. It's kind of like when the disciples of Yeshua saw him praying or doing certain things that drew them in to say, we want that as well. And that's one of the things that we should be trying to pursue, the kind of relationship with the Father that draws other people to want the same thing. Face-to-face implies seeing things eye to eye or in agreement. As in Numbers 6:25 and 26, part of the blessing. It reads, Yahweh cause his face to shine on you and be gracious to you. Yahweh lift up his face to you and give you shalom or peace. When a person's face is towards you, that means your eyes are with one another. Another verse, Psalm 80 verse 19 reads, O God, restore us and cause your face to shine upon us, and we will be saved. The Hebrews knew it was important for the Father to look upon them, for his face to look towards them, because that was a good thing. But you know, face to face also means something must be dealt with. Have you ever seen that parent tell the child, look at me, look at me, and they peer deeply into those eyes? You already know whatever comes next isn't going to be good for somebody. It reminds me of the time when Yahweh called Moses and his older siblings, Miriam and Aaron, to squelch some sibling rivalry. In Numbers 12, verse 7 and 8, it says, my servant Moses is faithful in all my household. Yahweh is speaking. With him I speak mouth to mouth. That is, openly and not using mysterious language. And he beholds the form of Yahweh. But check out this rebuke. So why were you not afraid to speak against my servant Moses? Because of Moses' face-to-face relationship with Yahweh, Yahweh testified that Moses saw his form. And his brother and sister should have been afraid to disrespect Moses because of their relationship. When Yahweh's face is toward you and toward me, toward us, he's prepared to release favor, grace, and shalom. But depending upon what we're doing, he may want to address an important issue as well. So how do we develop or build on our face-to-face relationship with Yahweh? Well, let's pick up with Leviticus 26, verse 3. We can think of the word statute, it's not statue, as some people might mispronounce, statute, like a prescribed course of action. When Yahweh gives a statute, he's saying, this is what I want you to do. Many of us who are maturing wind up getting prescriptions from a doctor. And the prescriptions usually have what we're supposed to do, when we're supposed to take that prescribed medication. Well, when God gives a statute, he's saying, here's what you need to do, and sometimes when to do it, how to do it, and where to do it. That's a statute. A commandment, a lot of folks don't know. You might have heard the Hebrew word mitzvah. I'm following God's commands, his mitzvah. Well, it really means to show or point out a path. I'm highlighting this because an English definition, or way we usually think of the word command or commandment, is to direct with authority or give orders to, as a general does to his troops. God is not a general barking orders, but he is a guide, and his command are his directions to lead us on the path. We have to keep these things in mind if we want to have a face-to-face relationship with him. We have to approach him from his perspective and not our perspective. But there are those who disrespect, disregard, and disobey his instructions. This is a way of saying they turn their back on him. In verse 14 of Leviticus 26, we read, "But if you do not obey me and do not observe all these commands, these directions to the path, and if you despise my statutes, my prescriptions for action, or if your soul abhors my judgment, you can't stand me telling you what to do, so that you don't perform all my commandments and you break the covenant, here's what I'm going to do. I will even appoint terror over you, wasting disease and fever, which shall consume the eyes and cause sorrow of heart. And you shall sow your seed in vain, for your enemies will eat it. I will set my face against you, and you shall be defeated by your enemies. And then you'll flee, and there's nobody pursuing you. You turn your back on me, turn away from me. And after all this, if you still don't obey me, I will punish you 7 more times for these sins." Now, it's bad enough to get caught up in the woodshed and have to be taken out, and God has to discipline, correct, chastise you. But he says, if you really turn your back on me, I may have to punish you 7 times more. But wait, that's not all. He says in verse 21, you keep doing this, because he gives more details of people pushing back on him and not following his instructions. Verse 21, then I'll punish you 7 times more. And then some more details in verse 24, 7 times more. And then we get to verse 28, 7 times more. Oh my gosh, with the end of it in verse 33, then I'll scatter you throughout the nations. I'm going to evict you from the land. If you can't follow the instructions for my people in the land I'm placing them, then I'm going to put you out, just like the people who inhabited it before. But if you follow along in your Bibles, in verse 40 of Leviticus 26, Yahweh's compassion comes through. And he says, if they confess their iniquity and the iniquity of their fathers and their treachery that they committed against me, I'll also, and also in walking contrary to me, verse 42, then I'll remember my covenant with Jacob and with Isaac and with Abraham, and I will remember the land. Verse 44, yet for all that, when they are in the land of their enemies, I will not spurn them, neither will I abhor them so as to destroy them utterly and break my covenant with them, because I'm Yahweh, their God. Remember, keeping his instructions leads to positive consequences. Disregarding his instructions lead to negative consequences. The book of Hebrews sums up why we as saints should seek to be holy and walk in holiness and pursue a face-to-face relationship with Yahweh. Hebrews 12:14 reads, pursue peace with all people and the holiness without which no one will see Yahweh. Shalom.